So welcome everyone to our webinar today. It is presented by Rossware, and it is furthering job management within the Rossware ecosystem. And Karie,
Hi,
it's all yours.
how is everybody? Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to, oh, wow, I don't know if that's exactly what I wanted to do here. Hi, welcome. How's everybody today? I'm looking at my own face. Can I see anybody else's face?
You can't, not today, but everyone, just a quick disclaimer, down in your thing, you can enter a Q&A. So you can enter a question or you can raise your hand. And Karie, you can click on them if you want or answer their questions.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I need to share my screen. What's going on here? Oh, there we go. All right. So today we are going to do this further job management in the Rossware ecosystem. So I don't know who all was able to be with us here last week, but we talked about how information gets into Rossware and how you can automate some of that processes. And so today we're going to try to build on a little bit of what we learned last week. So again, we talked about call taking and how we're going to put information into call sheets and how you can automate that via the dispatch tools. And then making appointments on the dispatch map, using the zone scheduler, using the day planner as an alternate view, and then automating scheduling with tech assignments on the Grasshopper, and using departments for overlapping zones and to help with the guided text selection. So today we're going to build on that, and we're going to talk a lot more about the job record itself. And so what I'm going to do is actually share Service Desk today, not just the PowerPoint. So I'm going to open and share Service Desk. So you guys should be able to see Service Desk now. And you can see that I'm looking at a screen with call sheets. Let's see. I'm trying to change this so that I can see you guys in case you do a little chat thing. All right, let's see if that works. All right. So looking here at a call sheet, we have one that's active that we're going to work on here in just a second. But before that, we're going to talk about job records. And so the job records are really similar to the call sheets in that you can page up and page down to go through them. The most recent one is the first one that's going to be on top when you open the file. So like if you look right up here at the top, it says job record 209-015, and it says current item 994 out of 994. So we're looking at the old or the newest job record here. And if we do Control plus the home key on our desktop, it takes us back to the first or the oldest item in our job records. And Control End again takes us back to the newest. Page up and page down on our screen will move us through the record, through the file, one item at a time. And then we have these great search options. Oh, okay, hold on. Which is the ideal process on using apart from your office stock? The technician went to a call special order part because he didn't have it on his van. The office, before ordering from the supplier, found out we have it in our warehouse. Do you tag a part for a visit and decline the special order part, or is there a way to convert a special order to a tagged part? There is, Will, a way to act as your own warehouse. So we can take a quick little side detour onto this. So basically, if you have seen this parts crossover form before, so the parts crossover form allows you to fill a special order parts request from your own inventory. And basically you come into this little crossover form and you select the item, and then you create a warehouse pull. and then you move it over into your inventory. So it allows your technician to say, hey, I need this special order part, but then it allows you to move it from your warehouse to the technician. I don't have a complete inventory here, even though it's showing you stuff. So I don't really have the capacity to demonstrate exactly how to do that. I would search in the work diary for this parts space crossover, with crossover being one word, and you'll be able to find some more information on how that little process works. But basically, yes, that is available, and it's Control Alt F9. So it's kind of a personal preference on how you guys want to handle that. I feel like some operations prefer to do the parts crossover, and others prefer to cancel the special order parts request completely and just do the tag part for visit. It really just depends on your own internal process. I would recommend that once you determine which process works best for you, that you just stick to the one so that you have consistency in your operation as far as, ownership of that part and making sure that you don't lose track of it. So let me know if that does not answer your question. In the meantime, we're going to pop back here to talking about these job records. So the first thing you want to note about job records is that this upper part right here where it says Tony Howard is identical to that intake call sheet, right? So you've got the go-to party on the top, or excuse me, the go-to party and the paying party, when they're the same, it's on the top. If the go-to party and the paying party is different, then the go-to location will be on the bottom and the paying party will be on the top. Right here where it says originated, this originated information is where your stats are going to come from. So if you're trying to keep your turnaround time low, Service Desk is basing it off of this information right here in this originated box. It'll also tell you where the dispatch came from. So if it says XP, then that means that it came in via the Service Power Dispatch Link utility. In this case, it says KS, so that's my initials. So it tells you that particular job record. We were talking about the searches. Okay, so this find by down here in the lower left-hand corner, you can search by all this different information that's in the job record. So the invoice, you can look for basically anything that's following a pound sign. So if that's a dispatch ID number or a servicer ID number or a call authorization, any of that kind of information that you have in here, you're going to choose this PO option to search by that. And the other thing that's kind of cool is if something's been misspelled and you only have a portion of a piece of information. So let's say a technician leaves a part at a house and he can't remember where he left it, but he was like, oh, it was that job that was over by Bay. And he's like, can't remember exactly where it is. Well, under the address, if I use an asterisk as a wild card, I can actually search for anything that has Bay within it. So if I search, I can find, I can find this W Cultus Bay Street, where I might not have been able to find it if I just did a regular search, because Bay is not the beginning of the street address. So that's a really handy tool to know. If you know that it starts with Bay or ends with Bay, you can use those asterisks as wildcards so that Service Desk knows to search within for this text within a context. As you know, Service Desk does that matching, that character by character matching. It helps to make that a little different. All right, let's see here. All right, so the next thing that we're going to look at here is we're going to talk, I got a little slide here that's a little bit handy for the job buttons. So we're going to talk about what the job buttons do. Let me just change this screen share. Okay, so the job buttons, there's a whole bunch of them down at the bottom, kind of in the middle of the screen. And they all have a lot of on the face functions, but then they have these background functions that you don't necessarily know about. And so the first one is pretty obvious. It's to create the unit info sheet. And the unit info sheet is where you're going to keep track of the model and serial number of the machine that you're working on, keeping in mind that Service Desk considers that serial number to be unique. So every record in the system should have a unique serial number, and that unique serial number allows you to attach multiple jobs or visits or trips to the same machine. So if Mrs. Smith has her washing machine, she's had it for 10 years and you've gone out and you've serviced it multiple times, or let's say, actually, let's give a different scenario. Let's say a refrigerator that needs to have its system updated and cleaned every season. So you go out and you do that seasonal work on it. You want to have all that work tied in the system to that one machine. And the way that that's done is through the unit info sheet and through the unique identifier of the serial number. So that's what that UIS is for, unit info sheet. New question. I don't need this mistake. Okay, well, thank you so much for stopping in. If you want to go through any of the other basic trainings, just let us know. Okay, all right. So the next one we're going to talk about is the enter funds received. So that button used to have not a lot of functionality within Service Desk. It basically was a place where if your technician called in to have you run a credit card for them over, they couldn't do it in person. So they would call in and you would pull out your terminal and you'd run the credit card manually. And then you'd do the enter funds received in here. But now that we have so much integration with the credit card companies, this button has a lot of different purposes, and its newest purpose is to allow online payment request. So if you have a customer who's like, I want you to write a check, I'm not going to be there, can you just send me an invoice and I'll just pay it? And so just like we send PayPal invoices and people click and they pay them online, this is the same kind of concept. So you can send a request now for an online payment by using this enter funds received button. So that's really cool and handy. The third button down here, order parts, is again one that's not frequently used because the technicians should be placing their orders on their mobile devices while they're out in the field. They should be entering the parts and things that they need. But if for some reason somebody needed to have you manually enter a part, you could click on this order parts button and you can manually do a request for a part outside of a post-visit report. However, the really handy part of this button is the right click. So when you right click on that, it does a query of any parts that are on order regarding this job. And that's regardless of whether they've been installed or not. So if you want to see the history of all the parts that have been requested or with this job, you can do a right click and it'll search for them. Let's see. Earlier, with the question on how to do a part that is in your warehouse, but the technician placed a special order parts request, that's what this tag part for visit button is all about. So normally you can do, if you click on this, you can do the anticipatory part transfer or the spec tag part to let the office know that this part needs to go with this technician. The other new thing here is the attention note button. So the attention note button is basically a sticky note that's on the face of the job record, which is super handy. But also now you have a bunch of the other functions. So if you right click on the attention note, then you can do a couple different things now. The oldest function is that you can create reciprocal job links. And a reciprocal job link is when you have two or more appliances in the same house, and that you're servicing on the same trip. And you don't want to send the technician, you don't want to send Joe out in the morning to work on the dryer and then mistakenly send Sam out in the afternoon to work on the refrigerator if Joe could do both in the morning and just complete the work. So by creating a reciprocal job link, it allows you to tell service desk that invoice number 1 and invoice number 2 should be scheduled together, and gives you warnings if you don't get them scheduled together. It pops up and says, hey, there's another job record over here that you should probably review this before scheduling this job. So that's a super helpful thing that's in there. But now you can also do a couple other things. So now you can increase the job count value for a return visit. So let's say the technician goes out and he does his diagnosis and he's like, I have to go back and do a major part install. It's going to take me twice as long as a normal job. So he can go in there and we can change the job count value from 1 to 2. And a job count value doesn't have any like precise definition, but what it means is if the technician can normally do 10 jobs a day, that a job count value of 2 will fill 2 slots on his calendar instead of 1. If a technician can only do 6 jobs a day, then again, it'll take 2 on his calendar instead of 1. So now instead of 6, he only has 4. In the case of the other technician, instead of 10, he now only has 8. The next thing that you can do with this button is to add a second man or a second technician or a helper technician. So if your technician says, hey, I've gone out and I've done a diagnosis and I have to pull this machine out of the cupboard and I'm going to need a second guy for it. So he can go ahead, or someone in the office can tag that for a second helper technician for the future appointments. And then the new final thing that you can do now is you can add special skills for a particular job, and you can do it right here on the fly in the job record. So let's see. All right, and the last one we're going to talk about now is the scheduling. And so when you schedule, you can right click now to send. Originally, again, historically, you can only send a email that invites the customer to either call the office to schedule their appointment, basically saying, hey, guess what? Your parts are in. We'd love to get a appointment scheduled so that we can get out there and get those installed. Please call the office at your convenience to let us know. The alternative was to include a link via the CyberOffice tool so that the email said, hey, your parts are in, congratulations, click on this link and itself at a time that's convenient so that we can come out and install those parts. So now you also have the option, to choose texting or robocalling. So either of those are an option that will give the customer those same messages of, hey, please call the office so that we can get this taken care of for you, or here's the link and you guys can schedule yourself. So those are what the job buttons on F7 do for you. All right. I am going to switch back to the service desk now. All right, so now we're looking at service desk again. So we talked about what these buttons do. The next thing that we want to talk about is the status of the job. So the status of the job is what service desk uses to help keep you on track and make sure that you're progressing through the work in a timely manner. Every job has a status based on where it is in the scheme of the process being done. So this first status is working to schedule. And that means that the customer is called, or you've gotten information from a landlord, or or a property management company perhaps, or a third-party manufacturer. One way or another, you've gotten a request for service, and you're trying to get this onto a schedule. So when a job is in working to schedule status, it has a 1-day grace, which means that if you don't move it out of, going to receive a message from service desk reminding you that there's work to be done on this particular record. The next one down is currently scheduled, and that has 10 days grace. You might notice that I'm floating my mouse over these. So these grace periods are adjustable. So they come with a default, but you can actually set your own grace periods for these different things. If you feel like the grace periods that are set by default are insufficient, they're either too lenient or not strict enough. So okay, so then we got dispatch to technician. That means that the technician has a certain amount of time to get back to you regarding what was done on the job. You've got tech reported not done, waiting for parts, pending authorization. So a lot of times I get the question from people, well, what status should I put it in and how should I do that? Well, the thing that's really great about Service Desk is most of these changes of job status happen automatically based on the functions that you do within Service Desk. So for example, we have this job right here for Gateway Property Management. They want us to go out to Lucy Monk's house because she has reported that her clothes aren't clean, and we think that perhaps there's something wrong with the automatic detergent dispenser. So if we go ahead and job sale this without picking an appointment, we're going to say, no, we don't want an appointment. Oops. Yes, I'm positive. All right. When I do that, and now I go to my job, my F7, my job records, I can see that this job is in working to schedule status, and that there's a historical notation that's put here that says job created by KS. So I didn't have to put this in a particular job status. It just happened because of the action that I took that pertained to this particular job. So Gateway Property Management called me and they said, hey, you need to do this. And I said, okay. And I checked with my technician. I checked my schedule. I saw what kind of availability that I had. And then I reached out to Lucy to find out what her availability was for me to come out to her house. And it works out that we're able to go out and do this repair today. So what I can do now is I can click on this scheduling button and I can go ahead and choose to go out there this afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and give that to my technician and hit enter. And again, through the process of me doing the function that Service Desk expects me to do to schedule her appointment, a historical notation is entered automatically that we scheduled it, the technician we scheduled it for, and when we scheduled it, and the status of the job automatically changes to currently scheduled. So I didn't have to do anything extra or fancy to get that done. So I need to get this information to JJ. So the next question is, how am I going to do that? So there's some different things that you can do. You can go super old school. You can pick the phone up and you can call JJ. You can text him the information, all kinds of different ways. But the thing that we're going to talk about today is how SD Mobile can get that information to your technician. So I am going to stop this screen share from Service Desk and show you a different application. All right, so now we are looking at SD Mobile Link. So SD Mobile Link is the communication utility that runs on a computer in your office. It should only run on one, and it serves to communicate between your office and the cloud and your technician. So when you have information in Service Desk that you put into the system, the SD Mobile Link runs in the background. It's got this little timer here that you can see in the upper right-hand corner. And every 10 minutes, this little utility looks to see what information within Service Desk has changed in the previous 10 minutes and uploads the changed information to the server so the technician can see it. Now, the next thing that happens once that information gets up to the server, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to force it to send the information up to the server by clicking on this dispatches button. This is not something that you normally would need to do throughout the day. It just does its thing And obviously there's a lot of different options and things that it does here that we're not going to talk about today, but I'm going to go ahead and force it to upload the information that's changed in the last 10 minutes to the server. Now I'm going to go ahead and stop that share again. I got to turn my device on here. And give me a second, sorry. Come on there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to share with you now what the technician's going to see. Plug in. Oh no. No, don't do that. New share whiteboard screen. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Can you guys see that? You should be able to see my iPad now. Okay. So the technician in the field, this is SD Mobile on an iPad. And I'm going to go ahead and log in. So your technician is going to log in. And when he logs in, he's going to see that he has a new dispatch. So this one's, you see, it's got the little bell by it and it says new. And so he's going to go ahead and be able to see this. Okay. Oh, I'm trying to click on the mirrored screen instead of actually on the laptop, actually on my iPad. Sorry about that. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and click into this. And the technician is going to be able to go ahead and see that I've got a landlord, gateway property management, and we're going to go out and work on a GE washer. So the technician instantly, because of that transfer that happens in the background through the SD mobile link, is able to see that he has this new ticket that he's going to work on. And so he's got one he hasn't reviewed and one that he has. So this green one he hasn't reviewed yet. And then this other one he has. Okay, so we're going to go ahead then and click into this. And he can go ahead and do this job now that he's got it. But before he does that, we're going to talk about a couple other things that can happen during the process. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to, actually, maybe we can do that through here. Okay, so there's a couple different ways that the technician can help to manage the stuff that's going on in his schedule. And he can do this on his tablet, or he can do it just straight on the internet. And what that is the future scheduler. So the future scheduler allows him to see the work that he has coming up for the next few days, which is where, if you're going to help yourselves to be a little bit more efficient, is where he can treat upcoming and plan what parts that he thinks that he may need so that he can be more successful in a possible first time complete. So like we have this job here on June 5th, and if we open that up, the guy has a KitchenAid refrigerator, and it says, was making a buzzing noise, now no ice. So there's a good chance that an experienced technician is going to be like, that sounds to me like a failed ice maker. And so he could go ahead and put in here that he needs to make sure he has an ice maker assembly on his vehicle. And as I type that part in there, oh, come on, where'd my drop down? Where'd it go? 9, 4, 3, there we go. I can see that there's matches for that part as I type it, so I can go ahead and select that. All right, I don't know why that didn't work. But then I can go ahead and I can put a description in there, and I can add that part. And then once that's in there, I can go ahead and submit that triage. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that triage for that future job. And I'm going to again show you guys how that back and forth process between the technician and the office works. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go back now. I'm going to stop sharing the the iPad. And we're going to switch back to sharing the SD mobile link. And we're going to go ahead and do that refresh again. Now, normally this would happen in 4 minutes as this thing counts down, but we're going to go ahead and click on triage. So now that we've done that, we'll go ahead and switch to service desk. Okay, so now we're looking at service desk again. And if we look on our dispatch map, and we can see our technicians are listed over here, and we've got Josh Jones's listing there. If we page down, so now we're looking at Friday, so we can see his job for Friday, and we page down again, and now we're looking at his job for, oh, okay, what's going on here? Okay, I was expecting to see a mark on there letting me know that that had been triaged. I'm not sure why it wasn't there. Okay, well, for the sake of the job records and understanding how that stuff is managed, you can see now that there's this notation in here that says that JJ did the triage online. And so I can go ahead and I could click on it. Oops. And so now that I know this job is triaged, and there's those historical notes that lets the technician know that, hey, these are the things that we need to do. I'm not sure where my part order went. But that information normally would go into the system, and it would let us know. I might not have done something right there on the iPad. I'm not super good with the iPad. Anyway, so normally the technician would have that information there. It would let us know that he went ahead and did that triage online, and the notes that he went ahead and put into there. The other place where he can put that information is in the okay, on the internet itself. And so this is what the future scheduler looks like on the internet. This, I have a really, really big monitor. I have like a 43-inch monitor, but at the same time, I still have all these little screens all over the place. Okay, so you can see here that he has that same kind of viewpoint that he does on the other, and parse triage has been submitted. I know that works, so I'm going to totally say that was user error, that the information I put on the part did not go where it was supposed to. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to see, we can see how that back and forth works, right? And I'm going to show you now. I showed you on the tablet, but now I'm also going to show you on the Windows version, because we have 3 different versions of SD Mobile. So on SD Mobile, you've got the Windows version, you have the Android, so you can do it on your phone, you can do it on iPad and iPhone. So you've got lots of different options for your technicians for how they're accessing things mobilely. All right, so this is what the Windows version looks like if you've got a technician who's accessing via a tablet, like an actual like laptop, and that's Windows based. So we're going to go ahead and see how this looks in order to do this job detail. So let's say that the technician goes out there. The first thing he can do is click on this I've arrived button. You are punched in. Oh, that's interesting. Let's try this again. Okay. It doesn't like that. Okay. Says you are presently a time card punched in for 9:21. So apparently I have not played around with this for a while. And I'm going to, doesn't like my punch out. All right. We're going to switch back to the iPad. I think that that'll be easier. Sorry about that, guys. I thought I tested all of that stuff before coming in here today. Screen share. All right. All right. So I'm going to actually, I'll just show you guys from, sorry about that. I'm just going to share you from the service desk side again. Okay. So for this technician, I'm going to go ahead and go into this ticket, and I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and indicate that he has arrived at the job. Details. Work. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to verify the model and serial number, and the technician goes ahead and says, okay, I've done that. Arrived. Okay, there we go. Arrived. He's going to verify the model and serial number and go ahead and put in the selling dealer. See if this works now. Okay, I think you guys can see that now. All right, so he's going to go ahead and indicate this information. So the model date, purchase, etc. And he can go ahead and click verify. So this shows that he's verified the model and serial number for this machine. And the next thing he's going to do is go ahead and describe the work that was done. And so let's see, we were diagnosing why this particular the clothes weren't getting clean. And so the technician is going to indicate that there was a clog, dried detergent blocking dispenser. Whoops, that's not spelled right. All right. Customer education. So he needed to tell the customer, hey, you can't use dry powder detergent in here. You can only use liquid detergent in this dispenser. So he cleaned it out and got all that stuff ready to go. He didn't end up needing to order any new parts, so he can go ahead and put cleaned and tested okay. All right, so now that he's got that information in here, now he can go ahead and mark whether or not this was a job that was complete or not. So we're going to go ahead and hit job complete down there at the bottom. And I know that watermark's a little bit in the way there, so I apologize for that. The next thing that the technician's going to do is go ahead and move to the ticket stage. Since this is for a landlord, or actually this one is, oh, I'm on the wrong ticket. Well, we'll pretend that I'm on the right ticket. I didn't realize that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and indicate if there was any labor. We'll go ahead and add the labor on here. So this is where if you have flat rates, you can put flat rates into the system, or you can integrate with Blue Book. So we could go ahead and put a flat rate in here. I know there's usually a flat rate for customer education. but we can go ahead and we'll just put that in there. He didn't use any parts. So now we can go ahead and add in the tax labor. Go ahead and put our service call in here. All right. So now the customer owes $125, or we're going to bill for it. And we can go ahead and click on this open signature. And when we open that for a signature, it'll allow us to create the ticket where the customer can sign on your iPad. Go ahead and click finish. And we're going to go ahead and submit this. So we do submit with work, confirm this. And now it's going to go back to the office, which is the next part I'm going to show you. So we'll go ahead and use that mobile SD mobile link. We're going to trigger that post-visit report, which again normally would happen with the timer. And of course, in the meantime, your technician is going to go ahead and move on to his next job, right? He just go ahead and keep going on his work. But we're going to go ahead and switch back to the office. And if we go to our dispatch map and go to our technician listing, we can see this little heart right here next to this job. That lets us know that the technician has finished at this job and moved on to the, like he's not only done, but the job itself is done, which means we could bill it or we could close it if it was a cash job. And then we can go into our F7. And when we go into here, there we go. So when we were talking earlier about how this stuff moves automatically through the process, you can see that automatically this job moved from currently scheduled down here to this completed status, and it moved to the completed status based on the information that the technician provided to us in his post-visit report. His post-visit report is automatically inserted into this job history with these little brackets, and it tells us that JJ was there. It tells us when he was there, what work he performed. It tells us that the job was completed. In this case, it tells me that the email ticket failed. So that's an automated process, but because I have a test system, it doesn't have an email set up appropriately. So it failed. But if I wanted to see this ticket, I could go ahead and double click on it and it'll open in another window. And I'm going to switch this again just so you can see it. All right, so I've got this ticket right here that shows what I did for the customer. And it shows the customer signature. And you might have noticed that I had the option on SD Mobile to do disclaimers. So you can have, I think, up to 6 different disclaimers that, again, become a permanent part of the customer's job record. So when you go into SD Mobile and Service Desk, when you're in Service Desk here in this description of work performed in this post-visit report, it'll also show the disclaimer tickets that were signed. So you can actually have proof that the customer signed the different disclaimers. And we didn't talk about it and I didn't demonstrate it, but the technician also has the SD Quick Pics, so he can take pictures of stuff. And of course, that has been expanded recently to allow you to attach documents, videos, all kinds of just a plethora of information can now be attached to a job so that you have all kinds of documentation to protect yourself. And if there's ever any concerns or complaints about the work that was performed. And now that this is done, I can go ahead and hand this off to my accounting person who can file the claim or cash the check and close this job out. So that's in a nutshell how that information kind of gets from the call ticket status to managing it in the job. There's a lot more, not a lot more. I mean, that's really just the generic stuff, but there's exceptions, of course. And of course, there's the back and forth between ordering parts and not ordering parts, or waiting for the parts to come in. But that is something that's a little, needs more than an hour to go over, or at least we wouldn't have time to talk about that today. So let's see here. We've got about 10 minutes left. It is almost 5 o'clock here on the East Coast. So if anybody has any questions, I would love to go ahead and try to answer those now. Otherwise, I think we will wrap things up here shortly, regarding this particular portion on an introduction to job management. And again, I want to point out that each of these videos is going to expand on the previous one, and Sarah is recording these. So you will be able to access them and watch them through if you miss one, but each one will kind of build on the next. Did anybody have any questions about the stuff we talked about today? All right. All right, well then in that case, I want to thank you guys so much for coming today, and I will, if you have any questions, please reach out to Rossware directly. And if you have any suggestions for the video for in a couple weeks from now, let me know. Otherwise, the next video will build on this one. So we'll probably talk more about parts, and also a little bit more on how to follow up on stuff that has slipped through the cracks. All right. Thanks so much. You guys have a great day.